Welcome back. At the end of the last video, I had a no start condition, and I was kind of perplexed because the car did actually run, well, it was in the donor car that I had. It wasn't as big a deal as it turned out to be, and I'm going to get to that, but I'm going to cover a few other things first. I just got through cutting off my air intake piece that I need between the mass air assembly and the elbow, so I got to use my Femi handsaw, and it cuts up to 4 1/8, so it's come in handy over the years. But that's how I got a nice clean cut, and I got extra in case I want to reroute some stuff or if I make a mistake. So I'll show you where this is going to go. So this is going to sit here, and I made it so it takes in at least 1 inch plus on either side. So that'll sit in here, and then I'll still have to drill my hole for my breather to go over to, it's going to go this way over to this valve cover on this side. And then I'm going to get ready to do a test fire. Finalizing the air intake system. I wanted the filter on this side because I wanted my battery over on this side, and this is the power by hour setup. This is the tube that I cut, and then I drilled a hole, inserted a grommet, and then purchased the correct forward quick disconnects for the basically the PCV valve. You can use it for the PCV valve for the air intake, and as well as this side. I made a new tube, and now this is a quick disconnect. It runs underneath and then up to the engine here, and it works fine. So that part is done. All right, I'm working on the power steering reservoir bracket. I'm going to move it out to the outside, well, off the engine to the inside fender area. So what I have got is these two are for my battery that I move forward, and then I just put 2 nutserts in here for a base plate. These are going to get drilled out. This is just a pilot hole because these are countersunk, so they go over the heads of the rivets so that it'll sit flush to the frame. This will sit down here, and then it'll kind of, it'll lock in there, but they'll have 1/4 inch holes in there with bolts, and then I'm going to weld the pump for the reservoir. So then the reservoir is going to sit down, going to be about in this position, and I'm going to tack weld that to get myself situated, and then I'm going to tripod it. Let me put the camera here. So this will be down here. This will come up. Then I have another rivet in the fender here. So I'm going to triangulate off of this, probably come down from here to here, and then I'll put a gusset in there. And then also I have one from here that'll go down next to the battery fender area. I have another pop rivet, 1/4-20. So that'll give myself like a good stationary tripod effect here, and then the hose is just a straight drop to the power steering, and then I have a return T put on here. Should take care of the other 2 lines. All right, I'm gonna get ready to tack weld my reservoir bracket, at least the first one, and then try to get situated and figure out what else I got to do here. So basically, of course, the battery's out, PCM is disconnected. So this way is level, and then this way, when I get my other strut put in here, from here to the chassis, I'll be able to move this over, tack that in place, and I should have it level both ways. So that's a good start. Okay, this morning I took the time to redo the power steering reservoir bracket. I lowered it 3/4 of an inch just to give myself some more clearance from the hood, which I do have 2 inches now, so 2 inches plus, and that's from the top of the cap. So I feel a lot better about it. Basically, this is just tacked in right now. It's loose, but this is gusseted, and it's sitting in here, and I have it bracket down here to the frame, and there's a strap across, which I'll show you. But this is just basically, you can pick this up and pull this out, and then again, all of the stands were counter drilled to fit over the rivets, so when it goes in and it hits all these spots, it just sandwiches in it, and it's right down flush to the body, so it fits a lot nicer. So the last one I added this morning was this piece across here, and that's just so that this all gets boxed in. So now I'm going to take it and do all my final welds and clean up my mess and give it a good sand job and paint it and let it sit, and then I'll bolt it all in. But I can put all the battery cables and everything all back in here, and when I get done, I can literally just take this and set it down right in here. That cable, this wire is going to go behind it. That's my pump wire, and then it just kind of just finds its little spots and just kind of locks in there. So it's actually kind of nice. This is the final fabricated power steering reservoir bracket that I made. That's going to bolt to the frame and inner fender. So then the tank's going to sit like right here, and then this is just going to get bolted down on these 2 nutserts here, and then I have 2 more in the fender here and here. And again, the bottom of these are all recessed, counter drilled, so they fit. I drilled them so they would fit right over the rivets, so they'll just go down and kind of like, they won't rock on the rivets, they just kind of sit in there and snap in, and then a bolt goes in, and then the canister bolts right here, and the batteries right here. Cables are going to run through here underneath, so this can all come up. When I'm done, I'll do another final. I mean, it's going to be tight quarters, but you'll see everything runs this way. This is the fuel pump. I'm going to put a bracket, little tie strap bracket right here in the frame to hold this. The positive battery cable here is going to go behind, and it will go behind this. So either way, this is going to be able to come out, and this is the starter button, or starter's request switch. That'll go in here. Negative cable will come up through here, underneath here, around the back here to the battery. So I'm going to get busy painting it. Alright, I just did a final mock-up of everything, how everything's going to go. Made my marks where I've got to do some wraps and stuff. And basically this is all going to come apart and then go back together for one final time. But it all fits, and I have plenty of clearance for everything, so we'll see when I get back. It is a puzzle, but it does go in, and it helps to use the magnet to get the bolts kind of started. And I have some new bolts that are coming that are shouldered, so that'll be a lot nicer, and they're serrated. But basically, none of this was disconnected, and this went down in there. It helps with 2 hands just to kind of maneuver some stuff, and then you just kind of put them in, hit the pop rivets or the nutserts, and it's locked in there. And with the reservoir, again, this is my practice tee that's on here, but this will just sit right here and get bolted in, and then it's pretty much a straight shot from here down to the pump. And I can use the hose the curved hose that was stock and do a little trimming. And then this is just a T. This one will go down to the cooler, and then the other side is going to go up to the brake reservoir. So I think I'm pretty good. I'm going to get this set up, and then I'm going to fill it and check, make sure everything's operational, and get the water pump pulley on and get that belt on, change that hose, and then just wait for my coolant tank. Okay, heater hoses. Using the stock Coyote hose. I cut the end off and bought a Gates end, so that's a quick lock onto my heater core. I'll probably cut this tab right here off and let this kind of flow evenly, clamp that. Same thing with the driver's side, stock Coyote hose. That goes back and gets cut off right at the bend where it goes up to their heater core. And then this is the stock 4.6 hose, uncut. And then they will be spliced together right here with a clamp. So this is a nice clean look, and it's out of the way, and my fuel lines will clear. So that's what I'm doing on the cooling hoses. I'm still working on the degas tank. Basically that's going to go on here, and it's going to have a cutout to clear the intake. And then I'll come up with an S-bend hose. I got a couple hoses to come into the degas, radiator coolant, lower radiator hose, upper hose. I'm still waiting for a hose, but I'll get into that a little bit later. All right, I'm working on the lower radiator hose using a Gates 22900 on the lower section here to right here where I've cut it. I've kind of measured up, cut it. I have a 6-inch sleeve in here, 1.5 inches, and then I'm using the lower radiator hose for the Coyote, and I cut that, put the two together. I got ample room to kind of play. I got a lot of clearance here for the water pump. The power steering pump and the belt. So I'm not going to really concern myself too much at this point. If it flies off, it flies off. It's going to do a lot of damage more than just the belt. So I will continue on with the upper hose. I have a feeling on the upper hose I may be using the 4.6 hose and actually doing another fit and cut, because it has a nice bend here, fits in here real nice, allows my air filter to go this way, and I'm going to have to get the sleeve probably from PBH and then do another little S-bend hose here and get that configured, put another little sleeve in here and connect the two. I think that's the only way I can get this done, you know, decent. Even if I was to use the stock upper and have the air filter go this way, it's still a mess. So it's just really tight quarters. I'm getting ready to connect my lower radiator hose. So this is the lower radiator hose for a Coyote that's been cut to fit, and then this is a Jeep Cherokee 22900 hose, I believe that was the number, and this is a 4-inch aluminum 1.5 inch sleeve that I'm going to put in between the two, clamp them, and then that'll take care of the lower hose connection. Okay, the lower radiator hose is connected. It's tight, so I'm going to get up on top and finish the upper side, and I can call this project done, start getting some coolant in it. One of the last things I was doing just now was I took the guide rail for the right side, because I'm using the stock Coyote hose and I have a Gates fitting and it's clamped to it, and this hose I can actually make it bend just a little bit with the curve that's in the hose itself. But with these guide rails, they were all straight. So basically heated this up a little bit, did some twisting to it, filed it, made it smooth, and now when I lay this in here, I can do this one-handed. Get into that hose. this will sit down, and then this hose actually will rest in here a lot better without doing a big kink. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. And if I need to modify it a little bit more, I will, but I think that's good. And then going over the back, this is again the stock 4.6 heater hose, and it's joined down here with a coupler into the Coyote hose, which was just cut and shortened a bit to accommodate the two together. And that way I could keep the stock Coyote stuff and not really worry about a lot of things there. The upper radiator hose is actually the 4.6 hose. So this is actually one hose that's been shaped. I think this is the radiator end, and then this is the other side, but it's flipped over, and this is the power by the hour adapter. This is a shot of my degas tank that I finally got back. So we ended up cutting this. This came over this way and then down, and what we did was we just arced it to what I liked and made a plate and TIG welded that in, and also added another bung here so that I could connect to the radiator, and then I'm using the Coyote stock to the engine side. So this is mounted, it's solid, I don't have any problems with it, and I'm ready to roll. At the end of my previous video, where I was just doing a lot of cranking and I had the rut row, it ended up, it wasn't as serious as it seemed to be. The engine did run, I know that from taking it out of the salvage title car that I had. So I knew that the engine ran and it had to be something minor, which it was, and I'm going to get to that right now. Okay, this is going to be take two. Everything looks good. I even checked my key power on in start and run just to be sure of that, which it is. And then I thought about a couple of things. Number one, the tack, which I tied into. So I disconnected my 42 pin connector. That's the only thing that's tied into the chassis engine wise. I know I have oil pressure because I saw the oil pressure on the gauge, so I know I'm good there. So I'm gonna go ahead and try it again. Well, evidently that was the issue, so now I got to find out why. I've done a few more tests, and basically what I've come to find out right now, for whatever reason, I'm not sure yet. I'll have to do some more investigating. Car does run, engine runs. I just don't have my tack. So I basically depinned the three wires, the shielded, and then the positive and negative that's tied into the Coyote crank trigger, and it runs. I just don't have a tack yet. So I'm going to continue. Continuing with the loss of tack signal on the initial startup, I've come to the conclusion, after doing some research, that the positive crank signal is the only wire that you connect to the Coyote harness through in the PCM. You don't use the negative side, and you definitely do not use the ground shielded. You do, however, use the ground shielded in your chassis harness. You leave that connected, and it's just kind of loose in the harness, and then you connect the positive to the positive signal on the Coyote, and you leave the negative alone. So basically that's what I did. I just took the negative out and kind of just wrapped it back on itself here for now. And this winter I may do some other testing. The tack does work. I will show you that in a second. Everything lights up. I got battery voltage and I checked it yesterday. I'm charging at 14 volts. I do have oil pressure because that'll come up as soon as I start it. Check engine light, so we'll go ahead and fire it. And I did get my tack fixed. And the rattling is from the exhaust flanges right now because they're not tight. But everything else works. I'm waiting for temperature, but I can't really run it too long. So this ball will be pulling out and then it'll look normal. That was the cure on that. Other than that, she runs good.